The following video was created as part of a student project and is intended for educational and advocacy purposes only. This video is made in collaboration with Furry Friends, a nonprofit cat rescue organization based in Vancouver, Washington. All footage, data, and interviews have been used with permission or fall under fair use guidelines. Every year, thousands of cats vanish from homes across American cities. Not because they're unwanted, but because their humans are being priced out, evicted, or displaced. In places like Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver, animal shelters are at capacity, feral populations are rising, and rescue organizations are stretched thin. But behind every surrendered or abandoned pet is a family forced to make an impossible decision: keep a roof over their heads or keep the companion they love. This isn't just a story about neglect. It's a story about survival, about what happens when pet-friendly housing becomes a luxury, and renters have to choose between their livelihoods and their animals. So how did we get here? And what does it look like when the breakdown of a housing system shows up not in headlines, but in the quiet eyes of a stray cat waiting for someone who isn't coming back? Because in the end, it's not just pets being abandoned. It's compassion, it's stability, it's the idea that everyone, human or animal, deserves a place to call home. Let's look at this data. The scope of the crisis isn't just heartbreaking, it's measurable. In 2024, Multnomah County saw the highest cat intake in years, with over 1,000 stray adult cats and more than 1,200 kittens. The unreported numbers are much higher. In Clark County, there has been almost a 50% increase over 2024. And in Seattle, shelters hit critical capacity by April, months ahead of typical seasonal peaks.
Well, spring is just a few months away, and with that comes kitten season, and Portland has a lot of feral cats having kittens.
More than 100 cats were flown from California to Portland to help free up a crowded shelter down south. Now a local veterinarian is bringing awareness to our overpopulated shelters here at home.
Nationwide, the numbers tell a chilling story. In 2024, over 5.8 million dogs and cats entered U.S. shelters. Of those, more than 273,000 cats were euthanized. That's one cat about every 2 minutes, 30 cats an hour. Some cities are now operating on what staff call triage rules, where saving one life sometimes means making the impossible decision to let another go. But this isn't just about overcrowded shelters. It's about a broken system. In many shelters, staff track not just the animals, but the reason why they arrive. And more than ever, those reasons include housing loss, inflation, and financial collapse. But there's more to it. Stories such as these are all too common. A senior moving into assisted living who can't bring their companion, or a parent escapes domestic violence and can't find a safe place that allows pets. And sometimes it's allergies. Sometimes it's a child with a compromised immune system. Sometimes it's grief. But behind each of these data points is a story. A lease that didn't get renewed, a vet bill that drained the last of a savings account, a renter who had to choose between keeping their home or keeping their cat. It's easy to blame individuals, but the truth is, this surge didn't come from careless owners. It came from a system failing its people and taking their pets down with it. So we went to see those who see it all firsthand: the shelter staff, the abandoned, and the volunteers helping families in crisis.
So I'm Jenn Hutchman. I'm the executive director with Furry Friends, and so I manage all the day-to-day operations. I do community events, answer all the community emails and voicemails. I do medicals on our cats and kittens that come in, and apply for grants. I basically just run the organization and make sure that we're being fiscally responsible and medically responsible for the cats and kittens in our care. So I actually grew up in an animal hoarding situation. And as a child, you want to do so much, but you can't. It's kind of up to the adults. And if the adults aren't doing it, then, as a kid, you just have to live in it. And so I always grew up with that mentality that I'm going to, for one, never live like that. And for two, help, all the animals that are out there suffering and the people. And so I want to make sure that people like that get that help. We have noticed an increase in the past years for cat intakes, and I really think cost of living has a lot to do with it, because people are having to make the choice between feeding themselves or feeding their cats. A lot of times people message us and say they're being evicted and they have no place for their cats to go, or they just can't afford their care, or if the cat has like a medical issue, they can't afford that. So it really seems like a lot of the higher intakes is money driven. People just can't afford to take care of themselves and their pets right now. I want to say in 2020, I believe, and this is just off my head, that our intakes were maybe like 500. And then now this year, it'll be well over 1,000. So our intakes have doubled. This kind of work affects us emotionally and physically, because it's hard work. It's nonstop, and it can get really emotionally taxing, I guess you'd say, because you can't say yes to everything. So sometimes you'll have to make those decisions where if you say no, that cat's not going to make it. But if we don't have the resources, money, staffing, medical services to care for that cat, we would be doing that cat a more disservice by taking it on when we can't care for it. But those always stick with you. You're like, oh, I should have. Maybe I could have done this or I could have done that. But it's so fast paced that you're basically on to the next case, and you can't really let those emotions affect you, or else you'd never, want to get up in the morning.
By now, you might be wondering, what can I do? I can't adopt a cat. I don't run a shelter. I can't solve the housing crisis. But you don't have to do everything to do something. Big changes are made by people doing small things consistently.
So the biggest thing that people could do to help with this cause is, if you're feeding a stray, get it spayed and neutered. There are low-cost programs for ferals and strays, and they would just have to trap it, take it to the appointment, bring it back, and let it go. Right now, for TNR, which is Trap, Neuter, and Return, Feral Cat Coalition of Oregon is one that does low-cost spay and neuter. I believe it's like $50 donation. And sometimes even if you don't have that $50, they'll still do it. And we're actually working on a TNR program up here in Vancouver to kind of model the Feral Cat Coalition of Oregon, because they're overwhelmed too. Their appointments book out for months. And that's thousands of cats. So obviously there's a stray cat problem around here. And so our motto is always, if you feed it, spay and neuter it. So we have a really large foster program. I think right now we have about 55 fosters. And so we're pretty much maxed out on our fosters, because we have to make sure that we have enough money to care for all the cats. So even if we had 100 fosters, we can't fill them all, because we have to make sure that we have the financial means to take care of what's there. But fostering does help, because it keeps them out of the shelter. And in the shelter, they can get, more sick, depressed. It could take a little bit longer for them to be adopted, that type of stuff. And so fostering really helps, because just like this little kitten who is in a car engine, she needs more care. And so then she's with me as a foster right now, but I'm able to watch her and make sure she gets all the medical care and attention that she needs, and that she's not in pain or anything like that. So fostering, we wouldn't be able to survive without our fosters.
You can open up your home for just a few days. Fostering does save lives. And shelters across the country, such as Furry Friends, are desperate for short-term placements.
So other ways to help would be to share our social media stuff. Let your friends know about it. See if, your friends or family want to come adopt. Obviously, donating money helps. But donating supplies also helps because then we don't have to use the money we have on supplies, because I like to use the bulk of our money on medical care, vet appointments, that kind of stuff. So then when people donate food or litter, blankets, all that kind of stuff, then we can use the money we already have for the medical care and not that stuff. And so it actually directly helps the medical case cats when people donate that stuff. And I don't think they understand how much that helps. I always say every dollar is saving a cat.
And if you're choosing to feed the strays yourself, with just a little more support, you can trap, neuter, and return them, saving hundreds, if not thousands, of future kittens from suffering the same fate. You can advocate, speak up at your local council meetings, push for pet-inclusive housing. The rules keeping animals out of rentals? Those aren't laws, they're policies, and policies can be changed. Most of all, you can care. You can stay tuned in when the headlines fade. You can remind others that this isn't just about pets, it's about people.
So I always try to tell people that it's not just cats that we're helping, it is people. People, a lot of times, even if they're being evicted from their house, they'll wait till the very last second to give up their cat. Because people love their pets. They spend millions of dollars a year, on their pets. Sometimes they need help, like we just helped this one lady with a hoarding situation. And she had messaged me later and was just like, thank you so much. You're the only person in this whole entire world that would help me. And I'm like, okay, at first you think, oh, I'm helping this cat, but you don't realize that you're also helping a person behind those cats. The people need the help just as much as the cats do.
When the system fails, kindness becomes a lifeline. Every small act, fostering, sharing, donating, speaking up, adds another thread to the safety net. Not everyone can adopt, but everyone can help. Because in the end, the crisis isn't just about cats. The cats are the symptom, but the root is deeper. And if we want to change the outcome, we have to start by changing what and who we choose to care about.